one of the things that happened when I first got to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training, as they were in processing all of us, again, in our company, there was probably around 200, 250 people. And they had us all sit down in a room and fill out an information sheet about ourselves so that our drill sergeants would have an idea of who they're dealing with. And these were people from all over the country who showed up in that same place, and we were going to be living in very close quarters for 9 weeks. And so as we went through this list, one of the questions was occupation. And I went in knowing that I really didn't want to tell anyone that I was a state representative, because I didn't want any special treatment for any reason, but I also didn't want any additional attention, unnecessary attention. But I wasn't going to be dishonest either. So under occupation, I put down state legislator and turned in the form just like everyone else. And I was thankful that it didn't appear that anyone really looked through those forms and they got stuck in a file somewhere, and we went on with training. So of the 9 weeks, I got about 7 weeks in without anyone knowing what my job was at home or that I held some special title or anything. So, you know, I had KP duty, which is kitchen, cooking, dishwashing duty, just like everyone else. And, you know, when we had 10 minutes to get through the shower and we had 60 females who had to get through, I mean, there was no special treatment. I was the same as everyone else, as I had hoped. But about 7 weeks in, there was one day where I had a desk duty. And most of my platoon was out at the range shooting that day. But my buddy, you know, we're assigned battle buddies. So my bunkmate, Private Westman, I'll never forget her name. She was from the Midwest and couldn't have been a more different person than I was. But we were attached at the hip. You know, if I had to go somewhere, she went with me. If she had to go to the bathroom, I went with her. We were literally attached at the hip. So we sat there. We had to greet people as they came in and answer the phone if it rang. And the senior enlisted soldier for our battalion, a command sergeant major, walked in, and he was doing what he does best and talking to troops and finding out what's going on. So he started talking to Private Westman and saying, well, how are you? Where are you from? What's your job at home? You know, how are you enjoying basic training? And then he came to me and started asking the same questions to me. So once he asked me, well, what do you do back at home, Private? And I said, well, Sergeant Major, standing at, you know, position. And I said, I'm a state representative in Hawaii. And his jaw dropped, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And he just said, are you kidding me? I said, no, Sergeant Major, I'm not kidding you. And so he was a little pissed off that he didn't know prior to talking to me, but he was also pretty proud. And he just said, you know what, this is not something that we see every day, and you know, I'm proud to have you in our ranks here. So I got in a little bit of trouble from my drill sergeants for not telling them first, and I just said, Drill Sergeant, I wrote it on my paper. And they went back and checked, and they found that I had. But after that, you know, nothing changed, and I really, as grueling as the schedule was, as physically challenging as it was, I really really enjoyed the time that I had there because of the strict discipline, the camaraderie, and the strong bonds that were built in that very short period of time. Is something that I had never experienced before and I didn't think was possible. But I left basic training with very good friends, some of which remain, you know, my best friends, and we keep in touch to this day. And one of the things I was also proud of was that my platoon selected me to represent them in a competition that happened just prior to graduation. And in that competition, you know, they took our different scores and test scores and marksmanship scores into account. But we went and we stood in front of a board and we were asked questions and quizzed on different things, appearance, you know, uniform, all these different things were evaluated. And I ended up being selected as the soldier of the cycle, top soldier of the cycle for my company. And I was really proud to walk in front of that company formation. And really what meant the most was that my peers came to me and said, you know, you really deserve this and we're happy that you got this award. Because that's what it all comes down to.